takes courage to live in faith. It takes a lot of courage to do what we've been called to do. It's way easier to go veering off, even though it's painful.
Welcome to the Real on Manifestation podcast. This podcast bridges the gap between mystical and practical, making manifestation real, accessible, and achievable so you are an embodied, energetic match to actualize everything you desire. I'm Minerva, your manifestation coach and host, and I've manifested every single thing I have ever wanted, from dream homes, new levels of income, trips, clients, businesses, TV gigs, relationships, as well as winning jackpots and contests. But it's not about the tangible manifestations for me. It's about how you feel and who you be on the way to there. With 3 businesses, 2 kids, and marriage to my childhood sweetheart, one of my proudest manifestations is feeling balanced, spacious, and free in my ever-expanding reality. Creating and maintaining your dream life doesn't have to take force, but ease, and I'm excited to guide you through yours. In this space, you'll receive expert insights and proven tools and strategies you can apply immediately to start manifesting everything you ever want. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of The Real on Manifestation. This week, I have another special guest, my friend and sister in our mastermind, Diane Cunningham. She is the founder of the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs. She's a former therapist and a business strategist for high-achieving women. I wanted her on this podcast because just her vibe and what we talk about in the mastermind and what we've been going back and forth on Telegram as well is around the topic of manifesting with God. And it's going to get a little controversial, but that's not the intention here. I don't really want to ruffle anyone's feathers, but I do want to get to the truth and light about God, source, spirit, that higher power in relationship to manifestation. And so I thought, who better than Christian business strategist for high achieving women, my friend Diane. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, and it's a really juicy conversation that's about to happen. Thank you for your invitation.
Absolutely. So tell us, what are your first thoughts around manifesting in God?
Well, in the Christian world, somehow people think the word manifesting is like a bad word.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I mean, the Bible says, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you shall find, knock and it will be open to you, right? I mean, it's all about vision and dreams and creating things out of nothing. The 5th word in the Bible says, in the beginning, God created, right? So we are creative beings. And of course, we're thinking of those things before they become true, especially in entrepreneur land, right? I have to dream the retreat,
Mhm.
invite people to the retreat, or whatever it is we're offering, making, creating, and that faith is a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is controversial. And I want to clear that up because I grew up Roman Catholic as well. And I remember several years ago, I ran a retreat and one person who was coming and coming, and then one day sent me an email and be like, I will be coming off of your list now. She said, I don't want to receive anything from you anymore because I have found Jesus. And I thought that was so beautiful. Great, you found Jesus. But what does that have to do with what I'm teaching and sharing about you achieving what is in your heart and God placed within you? And so when you think back to even Jesus as an embodiment of light and of love, and this master, this embodiment of light and love here in physical form, who came here in physical form, is my belief. And a lot of the teachings, when I even go back and read parts of the Bible, it's a lot around law of attraction, like attracts like, and do unto others as you want unto you. And what you put out is what's going to come back to you. And like you said, ask and you shall receive. And so, where do you think this misconception and judgment that it's bad, it is wrong, came from?
Well, I think it got a bad, there's all the woo woo people, and I tend to be a little on the Christian woo woo department.
Love it.
But I think that we can turn a word bad. We can vilify something that is really beautiful. It's meant for good. It's tapping into our God-given design, create something out of nothing, and not to be like Bible verse girl, because I hardly know any Bible verses. Like, don't get me wrong, but I did look some up for today. And is delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Psalm 37:4. And so I believe that what's been planted in you and in me are very different. It's different. And that my job is to manifest, AKA create,
Yeah.
what I see.
Yeah. Yes. And manifest, actually, when you go to the Old English dictionaries, the original meaning is how it manifests, right? That's the original, like how it manifests. But now it's become that I manifest. And it became very materialistic, a car, a house, a partner, stuff like that, right? And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think maybe that's where it starts straying away to object things, superficial things. And when I hear the word man, manifest, like we are human, right? We are light beings here in physical form, in man form, human, man, human, woman, and manifest, like it fests, it shows up, right? And so we are just the word manifest in so many ways. We are a manifestation of God's source spirit, and I welcome all thoughts of it, right? And whatever word you connect to, but I do believe there's this higher frequency and energy and an eternal infinite being that created life, created earth, created us, and therefore lives within us. And therefore, that creator being, that creator energy, if it lives within us, then we also have the power to create outside of us, right? So we are the conduit, we are the flow, we are the light of what manifests. Now, what we manifest, we have choice, we
Yeah.
have free will, right? And we all have a choice whether we're going to manifest for good or for evil, right? Or for bad. And so I think people think, well, if I manifest, it's bad, or I don't manifest. And then they also put it all into God or higher power. When anything bad happens, well, why did God let that happen? Right?
Mhm.
When we are the conduit, we're the human, we've been given the gift and we have the ability of choice. And so it's a matter of what we are choosing and then who we are putting that power and blame to, that responsibility to. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I love that. And I was even thinking there's the word manifest or a written manifest.
Hmm.
That's like a proclamation, right? A declaration, a proclamation of where we're going, the manifest. And that's really what we're doing. We're saying, hey, here's where I'm going. And yeah, I can manifest a mastermind or a group gathering for good, or
Yeah.
I can, lead a revolution, which, revolution can be good or bad.
Yeah.
And I really truly believe that we each, like you said, we get to choose. Sometimes I've manifested a lot of really dysfunctional things in my life
Yeah. Yeah.
because of choice after choice after choice. And then you have to turn the boat around. And I did. I've turned my boats around many times because I realized I was manifesting the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And having to kind of come back home to God, to my faith, to who am I called to be in the world? Who am I called to be in the world?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I'm glad you touched on that point because it's not about manifesting and being perfect or manifesting everything we want on the material level. And also, again, I think whatever is placed in your heart and when you are manifesting in alignment to God's source, a higher power, and you're connected, that's alignment and that's flow, and where that's where the ease and things can happen very quickly and you get that guidance. And in this human experience, we also have the ability to manifest, I say, through ego, right? And that's the abbreviation for ego I read somewhere was edging God out or exiting God out, right? And so that's when we're like, I need to do this. I need to have this. I need to, you know, make this amount of money or get this certification or have this credit or this award under my name so that I am worthy, so that I look successful, so that. And to me, that's an ego manifestation. And I think it would be a lie to say that we don't create contrast or we've never manifested a bad boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like we have choice in this. And so I think that's just part of the human experience and having that contrast and learning and experimenting and remembering our power within us. And when we connect to that, and what I call manifesting with God, with Source, with the light, connected to the light within me, that's the synergy, that's the flow, that's the ease, and that's where, the miracles and magic occur.
Hmm. I'm so glad that you brought up that acronym, the edging God out, ego, because I'm in recovery, 12 years sober, and there's so much from the 12-step rooms that I find a lot more God there. And we say higher power, but we also talk about God. And, some people don't want to talk about God. And I mean, the people at church, yeah, they do want to talk about God, but there's a lot of people who have been wounded in the church.
Yes.
And so whenever we're in that edging God out ego part, that is again where it's like I'm off course for me,
Mm-hmm.
out of alignment, into greed and into fear. And I can just really get caught in what we call 100 forms of fear, which can be anger, distraction, sleeping, eating, drinking, all these different things we do to numb ourselves from our purpose. God's called us to do, because honestly, it's hard. It's hard to go after your dreams. It's hard to stay on the right path. It's way easier to go like veering off, even though it's painful.
Yeah. Would you be open to sharing a little bit more about going through the 12 steps? And can you talk a little bit about that and how that may or may not have brought you closer to God or like your journey around that? How much do you feel comfortable sharing there?
Girl, I love to tell it all.
Okay, do it.
Yeah, so I was running a Christian company, that National Association for Christian Women Entrepreneurs, and I was like drinking every night. And that's fine. But after a while, I mean, it got worse. It got worse. I had gone through a divorce. So basically, drink, drink, drink. And once I got sober, I looked back and realized I drank pretty much every night for 14 years.
Wow.
Damn, I didn't know that. And sometimes it was just one glass of wine. But towards the end, it was getting worse and worse. And the last time I drank a liter of tequila.
Wow.
Damn, girl. I mean,
Damn. A good way to go out.
woo, I went all the way out. But looking back, total miracle, because I didn't end up in jail. I didn't kill anybody. People look at me like, oh, really? You're an alcoholic? Yeah. I mean, you get to decide. They always say in AA, like, you don't have to go all the way down the basement. You can get off at floor 6. You can get off as you're kind of peeling down the rock bottom experience. Get off sooner. come, come get help sooner. And so I am really grateful that that happened. And then I actually, pretty soon thereafter, I started telling my story of recovery because I had all these Christian women watching me.
Mm.
And I was living a double life for a long time. And now I'm not. And I need to talk about it. I need to bring it to the forefront that this is true and this could be true for you, because there's so many women like hiding under faith or hiding under money that they're in pain and they're addicted to something. And so I just went really vocal with it. On YouTube, I wrote 3 books about it. They're called Rock Bottom is a Beautiful Place.
Mm.
And I invited other women to share their story in these books. And so it became this little book community helping women share their rock bottom story, whatever that was, rape or death. And so ever since then, I've just known if I can help one woman, which I've helped way more than that,
Yeah.
by sharing that there's life on the other side, that that's part of my God-given life story.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. So I'm hearing you obviously went through a lot of pain and a lot of trauma and a deeper wound that led you to drinking every night for 14 years. And this was a part of your human experience and a part of your choices at the time. And what I'm hearing is that because of those, people call it the dark night of the soul. I don't know what you label it as, but because of those darker times, there was something in you that pulled you out of it and got to a place of recovery and healing and writing books and helping other women. What is that thing that got you through that? What made you put down that tequila bottle? What made you go through the 12-step program? What is that thing that got you through this?
God. I don't believe anything's an accident, Minerva. I believe that we use every part of our story to help the next person. But I'm my first client, I have to take care of me and I have to do what I'm telling my people to do. So God showed me after that liter of tequila. I mean, I was in AA, we call it incomprehensible demoralization. And I love that phrase because it's like I feel it every time I say it because it's shame and depress, like embarrassment and disgust. And I had, the worst hangover ever.
Mhm.
And that wasn't on my vision board that year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that was coming down the road. And if I knew, gosh, I would have tried to stop it.
Hmm.
I just think that there's these defining moments in our life that change who we are, that God needed me to go through that
Hmm.
to help myself and be a light, be a beacon.
Hmm. Talk about that experience a bit more about God led you through. What was your connection? How did you know it was God? And how did you reconnect and deepen and trust that relationship?
Mm, I've always had God. God's always been a part of my life ever since I was a child. Sounds like you too. Uh,
Hmm.
and so there's been times where I've been more distant, but I believe God is in people. I mean, God was in, my first AA meeting I went to, and all the friends that I know and love now that are my sober friends, right? And just giving me the courage, at the beginning of being sober is hard, real hard.
Hmm.
At day one and week one, and you get a little 30-day coin, and then you get the 60-day, and then and that first year is really hard. But surrounding me with this beautiful tribe of men and women that become my brothers and sisters in the journey, it's like a mastermind that's free.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we call it our home group for a reason because like when I'm crying, I know how to get there. I've driven there in the snowstorm. I've driven there when I've gotten broken up with, lost a parent, and I see so much God there just in humanity
Yeah.
that honestly I don't see in church.
I have to agree with you on that. That every time I go to church, and I don't go as much now, but now having my kids and you'd go for bigger occasions and when I feel called, but every time I go, I'm like waiting for that connection, that lightness, that expansion. And there might be little moments of it, but there's no one that really has resonated with me besides my connection with God. Like if I just sit down in silence and in that space, or listening to another teacher, someone who's not a priest, but a teacher and someone who is more practiced in that and excels in that area, that it resonates with me. I can hear truth, I can hear light, I resonate with it. And yeah, I don't hear it so much always in church. There's moments, don't get me wrong, and maybe other people have a different experience, but I don't think you have to go to church to feel connected to God or to be a perfect Christian or Catholic. You don't have to even do it through religion to be connected to God, right? I think we all have different paths and different journeys, i.e., what you even shared with your path with alcohol that brought you, sounds like, closer to God and a deeper connection to God and yourself because of that route.
Yeah. What I love about, if we move out of the sanctuary and go to the other rooms, is there's no pretending. I mean, when you walk in AA, it's like you're down and dirty.
Hmm.
You are like, I need to tell the truth. I need help. Or I am broken. I don't know what to do. Or I'm mad at my mom. There
Yeah,
and there's such a rhythm there. Like, I shouldn't even ask you this. Have you ever been to a 12-step group?
I haven't. And if I have, I would share, but no, I've never been.
Okay. Well, one of the really cool things about it is I've been to AA meetings in New York City, on my honeymoon in Mexico, all over the place. And no matter where you go, you will feel the same because
Mm,
we read the same things at the beginning and at the end. So it's like you can relax. The rhythm of that and just like, oh, I know these people get it. I don't have to
mm.
say a word. I can sit there and cry for the whole hour.
Yeah.
But they're gonna love me no matter what.
And I was just gonna say, it sounds like it's a space of true love and acceptance and bearing your soul and being you. And to me, that is what
Mhm.
church should be. That's what our relationship with God is, right? God's source is being ourselves and completely raw and flawed and all of us and show up as we are and receiving that full love and acceptance and really no judgment no matter where we are or what we've done.
Mhm.
And where I want to take this next is manifesting when we're not perfect.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts around that when we're not doing the quote unquote right things? Let's say when things are bad in our lives and is not how we want it to be. Where does God come into that? And where does manifestation come into that? When things are just not how we want to be in our marriage, in our business, and money, and life, I find people tend to blame it on God or wrong themselves, blame themselves, right? And to me, it muddies up that connection and that flow. So, what are your thoughts around manifesting and God when things are not how you want it to be, even in the world right now or in your community?
Right. Yeah, it's a gentle balance, isn't it? It's trusting God every day, even when I don't like it, even when it's not like I wrote down my magical goals for June or, whatever it is for the month. And, when the shit hits the fan, in the last year, my father died, my husband's mother died, my husband's brother died. And like in those moments, trusting that that was God's moment for that person. And some of those things happened fast and some happened really slow and long. And then even having those conversations like, do I want to go out fast as lightning, when I go home to Jesus?
Yeah.
Or do I want to go on the slow roll where everybody gets to say goodbye for weeks and weeks? I don't know. I don't know the answer. And I don't need to know the answer. But that's where I really have to lean into God. It's great to pray when things are magical, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yippee, but I need God on the magical day and I need God on the this feels like shit day.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it. I am scared to death or I am grieving or I am angry. For me, that's real faith.
Yeah.
That's real faith.
Yeah. And that's when they say people find God during the hardest times, during the rock bottom times. It's not the only way to find God, right? But it's in those moments that really test you when you're surrendered and have no other choice, is then when we come back to those moments and finding that deeper relationship and connection to the higher power, the higher source. And for me, like in those moments, whether it's in my personal life or in my business or even in my community or seeing what's going on in the world, it's so easy to get inundated and sucked into the heaviness, to the darkness, to the pain and the contrast that's in the world. And so, one practice that I do is I go find God, go
Mhm.
find God in it. Whether it's something horrible that happened, like a plane crash or whatever, like having that relationship with God and connecting and having that conversation always brings me back to peace, always brings me back to a truth, especially in the moments where it feels so uncontrollable. that we have no control over what's going on. But the thing we have control over and that we can come back to and we have access to is connection to that light, connection to that source, connection to that infinite being that we call source God energy. And I feel like when we come back into those moments, even when you were sharing, you hear that little whisper of whatever it was, put down the tequila water or go here. It's like the more we plug in to that connection, we remember it more. It's stronger. It's easier to plug back in when we plug out because I think as humans, it's natural.
Mhm.
And when we always come back to go find God in the situation, I connect on this spiritual, energetic level. Like, what's the message here? What's the meaning? There's always an answer. Like, why did this happen? And maybe it's not like a clear answer as to why, but I sense and receive some sort of message or feeling
Mhm.
that is calming, it's peaceful, it's at home. And I feel like no matter what path of life or religion or whatever people call this higher power being, it always comes back to the same message of peace, truth, light, love, right?
Yes. And acceptance and surrender and trust. And it's like this taking a deep breath, right?
Yeah.
And the word inspiration, I think, comes from breathing, to breathe in. And we get that inspiration once we release all of that fear and all that heaviness. But sometimes we're creating our own heaviness. I'm totally guilty of that, creating this whole drama about where I should be or what should have happened. And all of that is control, the illusion
Yeah.
of control.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we cause our own pain on some level, whether it's a conscious or unconscious level. We're here for soul learnings as well, right? And expansion and evolution. I think all the pain and hurt is often human related. It's not like God was like, you're bad or you're not deserving and this is what's going to happen to you. It's just about the energy we are being and who we're choosing to be and how connected and plugged in we are.
Yeah, like you said, it's like a muscle, right? My faith. I need to exercise it, right? I need to tap in. And whether that's, I mean, I pray with my clients, I talk to God in the hallway. You don't have to be
Yeah.
on your knees to do any of this. You just, God, what should I do about that situation? And just always staying connected.
Yeah, to the source as much
Charge,
as you.
charge your battery. Just like we
Yeah.
keep our phones constantly. Well, how much is my battery? Charge our God battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that when the shit hits the fan, I'm not down to 10% on my phone or, in my God meter.
Yeah.
So trying to keep my meter up high enough that when life happens, even if it goes down a little bit, I've got some wiggle room.
Yeah, it's a daily practice of plugging in, charging that battery, watering that relationship, nurturing that relationship. Like any relationship needs to get love and attention, and like any seed needs water and sunlight and air. We need to do that with every relationship, including the one with our connection to source, because that's the source that was connected and lives within us, right? So, what are your final words or suggestions for our listeners around connecting and manifesting with God, whether it's taking away that fear around it, or how can we help them deepen into that connection within them and all around them more?
Well, I tend to teach three main concepts, my pillars, so to speak, but I think they relate here. So, number one is courage,
Mm.
right? It takes courage to live in faith. Takes a lot of courage to do what we've been called to do. It takes a lot of courage. And then the second piece is action. God likes us to, he's like, here's the deal, go do the thing, right? So taking action towards the manifesting, the dream, the creation piece. And then the third thing I teach is consistency. So we've been covering a lot of that, but that's what has worked for me. Staying in bravery, and no matter what, as much as I can, going to do some sort of thing. That might be a call, that might be an email, that might be like laying down in the grass.
Yes. Yeah.
It might mean doing nothing because I tend to like get all riled up. And then that just being consistent, show up again tomorrow, go give, go serve, go connect with somebody, and really to get outside of my own bullshit.
Yeah.
If in doubt, my job is to go reach out to somebody I just met and help them, serve them, be a part of their life, because often my problem is really no big deal.
Yeah. That makes everything so much smaller and it takes you out of your own bullshit and stuff in your head. And when you go and do that, and then you come back and you have that relief and new perspective, and you're like, oh, right? It really puts things in perspective. And yeah, for me, like a quick go-to when it just gets noisy or I get overwhelmed and even tired of my own bullshit, we do it to ourselves, right? Or I just get so inundated with like the news and social media and what's going on in the world. It's hard not to pick it up, right? Like we are energetic beings, so we are going to pick it up. But, for me, when it just gets noisy and busy, my thing is I get into a practice, and I think the more you do this, I don't know if I'd say, yeah, maybe the easier it is to plug into it. But it's something that then I crave and want to go back to. But it's a simple practice that I think could take 3 to 5 minutes a day. And that's just like closing your eyes and just breathing. And I connect to God's energy, and then I allow it to flow in me, and I connect to my own energy, the center core
Mm,
source, God within me. And I almost see it like a telephone. As a kid, you would have like one cup here and the other, and there's that cord. Like that's really what it is, right? And it's like I'm holding one end of that phone, and then God's holding the other end is kind of how I picture. And there's that cord, there's that connection. And I allow the energy just to flow and go back and forth until it becomes one. And that centers me. And to me, from that place, exactly what you do, I say, okay, what are my next steps? And
mm,
so I'm asking from the source within and out and connection, the oneness, right?
mm,
Coming from a place of oneness. And I just find it doesn't have to be a big step. It doesn't have
mm,
to be so tiny as well. It's just the step.
mm.
And it was way more effective. It moves you forward in the direction that would feel better for you, but also for whoever's on the receiving end. And I think that's what we need more of is our light, especially in the midst of darkness. And one candle in a room is way brighter than adding more darkness. Do you know what I mean? You can't take out that flame in the midst of adding more darkness, expanding the darkness of the room. That flame is still going to shine. And I think we can be that flame no matter what's going on in our world.
Amen, girl. Amen. I
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me of that when you were talking about that energy cord from you to God.
Yeah.
Somebody taught me to like, what color is that energy? And really tapping into sometimes that energy is calm, sometimes it's like really vibrant. So I'm going to try practicing that as well. God created all these colors in the world and nature, and sometimes like the energy is fiery, and other
Yeah.
times energy is maybe like calm like the sea.
Yeah, do that. And I feel like energy shows up differently and it gives us exactly what we need at
Yeah.
any point of time. So thank you so much. We went so deep and thank you. I didn't even think I was gonna learn more about you in this way. And I knew you were the right person on this topic. So thank you for being so open and for being you and for your journey and what you've been through so that you can be here right now, sharing your light, sharing your word, sharing your experience to help other people and making manifesting in God more aligned and helping people just come back to who they are and who God created us to be. Any last words and share with our audience how they can get in touch with you to experience more of your love and light?
Of course, they can get my energy, my love, and my light. They can just go to dianecunningham.com, and there's plenty of goodies there for people.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diane. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next week.